Good afternoon, everybody. It's Amanda Herr from Amanda Herr Coaching, and you are joining me on Her Success, the live stream. So this is a live stream that I do pretty much every Friday at 12:15, and that's Eastern. And we go over different things that, may be going on in the workplace, in your career. We talk about motivation. We talk about leadership. We talk about pretty much anything that is of importance to women like us who are badass women in the professional field, career driven women. So, with that, I am going to go ahead and just start talking about our topic today. And so, I'm pretty excited about it. It's the 3 things that your boss won't tell you, but I will. And why I'm so excited about this topic is because I've been on both sides of it. So I have been that boss who has information that I can't share. And I've also been the employee who would have really liked to have had that information. So the goal here for today is to really talk about some things that you may not realize yourself, and also help you kind of craft the plan to get around some of these obstacles that come your way. Let's see. Okay, so here we are. And first of all, I wanted to thank you for spending the time with me today. I know it's Friday, okay? And I also know that, this is something that you're choosing to do. So I know that you have chosen to be with me today, and I appreciate that. So thank you for taking that time. I also want to say if you have a question or a comment or something that has just kind of come up for you while I'm speaking, please go ahead and put that in the chat. I'll be able to see it. I'm going to toggle back and forth here and kind of check on things as we go. And so please make sure to ask me or put it in the chat so that we can have our conversation, because this is a conversation. Nobody wants me to talk at them for whatever 20 minutes or whatever this is going to be. So make sure to go ahead and just be free with it. It's a safe place. Nothing you ask or nothing you say will be probably something that someone else isn't thinking or wondering. So please make sure that you ask. So that is the first part of the presentation, which is the welcome part. And then we're going to get into these 3 things that our boss won't tell us. And we're going to talk also about where we can start, how we can make a plan, how we can work around these things, or how we can actually notice them when they're actually happening to us. And then, of course, throughout, I'll be taking your questions. But again, if you wanted to wait until the end, we can also take the questions at that point too. So who am I? For those of you who have not met me or haven't joined me on a Friday before, my name's Amanda Herr, and I am the CEO of Amanda Herr Coaching. I have a pretty deep background in corporate America. So I was at CNN for 17 years. I left there when I was vice president of advertising sales because I decided that I wanted to do something different. I wanted to translate my talents into something that was more fulfilling for me. So a lot of the women I work with now are very much like who I was then. And that was about a decade ago. And what it was I had kind of climbed that ladder and just taken the promotions and kept going, always looking to the top of that career mountain and forgetting to look around me and enjoy the sights. So that when I got to the top of my career, I really wasn't enjoying that view. So that's when I knew I had to make a change. And when I did, I decided to go and get certified as a career and leadership coach through the Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching, or IPEC. I'm also certified through the ICF, the International Coaching Federation. So I have to tell you that it wasn't an easy decision to make, and there was a journey involved. And I've walked the talk that I work, that I talk about with my clients. But it has been the best thing that's ever really happened for me in my career. So that's who I am. I am also the mother to one absolutely gorgeous teenage daughter, and I am maid to my 2 small dogs who, are living the life, as they say. So that's who I am. I can't wait to hear who you are because I do invite you to either comment below or email me at amanda@amandahercoaching.com and let's connect. I want to connect with you. That's what this is about. It's about, creating a relationship together and me supporting you in your career journey. So let's talk about the 3 things that your boss won't tell you, but I will. Number one, loyalty is great. Okay. So loyalty is fantastic. We've all grown up, in this era of, if you're my age or older and, middle 40s and above, in an age of, you get the job, you work the job, you stay at the job, you're loyal, you work nights, you work weekends if you need to, you just plow through. And us career driven badass women, that's what we do. And we just move up, right? But the too much loyalty isn't great. Okay. And here's what I mean by that. So sometimes we have some really great bosses. We have really great supervisors. We have great mentors. We follow them. We're connected at the hip. And we're just like, I love my job. My boss is amazing. I am going to soak all of this in. And then we stay in that position probably a little bit longer than we should. Okay. And here's what we need to know and what our boss won't tell us. They're not going to be in that position forever. If your boss is that great, that you love it that much, they're probably going to be moving on into another position. Or, God forbid, there's a shift in the company structure and you no longer are working with that boss. Maybe that boss has gone to a whole nother division and you've completely lost contact with them, or that boss goes to a whole nother company. Okay. So you've kind of tagged in to be the partner to this boss and you're loving it, soaking in all of their goodness. And now they're gone. And you haven't really had the opportunity to build a reputation outside of your division or your boss or something like that. So now that they've moved on, what happens to you? What happens to your reputation capital, right? Your reputation equity that you've built so hard, you took so much time to build. Okay. So the question is, how are you positioning yourself? Even if you are very close and very, very loyal to your boss, how are you positioning yourself in the company so that if your boss moves on, you don't have to completely rebuild your reputation equity, or you don't have to rebuild the partnership that you have with the company overall. So what are you doing now in order to make sure that that doesn't happen? Okay. So I have a few pointers or a few power play items for you. And I want to say, before we go into that, I want to say this actually happened to me. This is something that is near and dear to me because I had the most amazing boss at CNN. His name was Gene Boyden. He was extremely well respected. Okay. Everyone knew Gene. Everyone loved Gene. I did too. And he was my manager for many years, meaning that I stayed in the position I was in because I wanted to work with him. I felt loyal to him. I didn't want to leave him, right? When the economy went down and we had higher sales goals and, I didn't want to leave him. Like, it became personal for me. I wasn't going to leave him. I was going to work harder. I was going to make it happen. And I did, obviously. But what happened was I could have moved into other positions. I could have done other things. I could have gone higher up in my career a lot faster, but I didn't because I was too loyal to Gene. Okay. And it doesn't mean that you can't be loyal to your boss. It just means that you need to be, close. You can be close and loyal to your boss, but you can't forget your own career goals in the process. And as much as Gene was loyal to me as well, he didn't hesitate to retire and think, I don't want to leave Amanda. He's one of my best friends now, and he would laugh at that, but it's true. It's business. So don't forget that. So your career is your career. And you can still have these really wonderful relationships, but don't forget that your career is your career. Okay, the power plays, what you can do. First of all, networking within your division is really important. So even if you're having a great time where you're at, and you and your boss are just two peas in a pod, or you've got a great team, you want to make sure that you're networking with your boss's boss and their boss, and also networking sideways within your division. Meaning that, if there are people in your division, but they have different roles, that you're networking with them, that you're networking with your team members that are below you, I guess, on the organizational chart. You want to make sure that you are building a reputation that is centered around you and not centered around you, and it's centered around you. And you can do that by networking within your division, but also networking outside of your division. Okay. So making sure that you're going across divisions, meeting others in other divisions, and proactively doing so. Not just, oh, if I happen to bump into someone at a work party, it's calling maybe a vice president or someone above in another division and saying, I would really love to grab coffee sometime and just really sit down and talk about your career, and talk about where you've come from, and also maybe get some pointers for my own career. Networking outside of that. Also, it can be really hard for us to want to network after work. And if you can't do that, I get that. And depending on which level, how high you are currently in your business, you're going to have to do more of it. But maybe if you can't go after work, you grab a coffee in the morning. You ask if someone can grab lunch. You take 5 minutes and go to the break room, if there is one, and actually talk to people. Get outside your little box. Training. Oh, and also I didn't put this on here, but one other thing is network outside of your industry. Networking outside your industry is really important as well. You would be surprised at how important that is, because your talent and your skills actually more than likely translate into a bunch of different types of jobs. And also, you're going to meet other women who are feeling and doing the same types of things you are, and you're going to realize you're not alone in feeling in certain ways, right? So, and you're also going to learn from them different tips of how to navigate this corporate world. Training. I was probably the worst, and it started when I was in the beginning of my career. I would just be hammering, getting things done, thinking that if I just worked my hiney off, that I would be noticed, and that, I was going to move up. And you know what? I moved up, but I probably could have done a better job and gone faster if I would have picked my head up, looked around, and actually went and took the training that I was offered. So, for instance, when I was actually as a vice president, they were offering training, and I was thinking to myself, I don't have time. I'm too busy. I'm traveling so much. So I skipped some of that training. That was a missed opportunity. I've had managers in the past. I was in sales when I was at CNN. So I have had managers in the past who had been selling for a very long time, and they would say to me, I don't need training. Why do they keep giving me training? I've been selling for years. I don't need training. I know how to sell. Wrong. A, there's probably something we can all learn at all times. B, you're going to have the opportunity to meet a ton of different people. So another example is that I was given the opportunity to go down to Atlanta and, hobnob and train basically with a lot of other VPs, EVPs, et cetera, in a room. And was the training, blowing my hair back? No, but guess what? I sat next to the EVP of production for CNN. I met the person in charge of production for Cartoon Network. I met people from TBS and TNT. I got my name out there. And so they were starting to look at me as Amanda, the person who was sitting in front of them instead of Amanda, the VP from Detroit. They were thinking, here is someone who could be a leader of the overall company and not just the division that she was in. So training is not just training. Training is an opportunity. Goes back to that networking, but also knowledge is power. Being proactive. So don't just wait. Don't wait for someone to give you an opportunity. I know we're all go-getters, right? That's why you're here. That's why we're talking. But don't wait. Okay. So, if you've been sitting in your position, okay, you've been in your position for 6 months and you haven't met someone new in the last month, that's not good. If you've been in your position for 3 years, why are you in your position for 3 years? We should be thinking about the next position if you want to be moving up in the company. If you're bored with your job, like I was at the end, get proactive. Your career is your career. It's nobody else's. Nobody else is going to do this for you. So you need to be proactive and speak up, for goodness sake. I don't know why women tend to be more quiet. I was in the beginning. Now, obviously, you can't shut me up. But in the boardroom, in a meeting overall, in the Zoom meeting, whatever it is, speak up. Say what you have to say. Have the confidence to lean forward. And if you do already have the confidence, make sure that you have the confidence and you know what you want to say and how to say it before you speak up. But always speak up. And I say that about knowing what you want to say, because sometimes even if you're confident and you kind of speak up and you don't, say it in the way that you want, it comes out wrong, right? And that happens to everybody. But just make sure to speak up, say what you want to say, make a point, implement whatever it is that you have to offer. Okay. Don't wait for your boss to speak up for you, someone on your team to speak up. Speak up. Okay. So that's the number one thing your boss won't tell you. I am going to check and no one has a question. Remember, you can toss me a question or a comment. I'd be happy to answer it. Okay, so number 2. So we have all heard this. There is no I in team. Well, that's true, but except for when there is an I in team. And here's an example. I was in an elevator going up they always say elevator pitch, and like literally this was an elevator. And I was in the elevator with our executive vice president. And I was in New York, and he said, "Hey, Amanda, so how are things going?" I didn't have a conversation, or I didn't have a quick 10-second, 30-second, this is how it's going. And so what I did was I told him how great my team was doing. So in doing that, it was great. I highlighted my team. He understood how strong my team was, but he didn't understand what role I was playing within that. He didn't understand how I, as vice president, had put my stamp on that success that my team had, that the team was actually part of me. So I needed to do a better job at inserting myself in that conversation. So your boss is not going to tell you this. They're going to tell you there's no I in team. And you're going to be like, okay, cool. What they also need to tell you, and they won't necessarily, is that you need to tell them what role you're playing. So while it's great to highlight your team, they also need to understand what you're doing. So if you are daily working yourself to the bone, if you are playing a key role in the success of your team, then you need to let them know the things that you're doing. And you don't need to let them know like, oh, I work all the time, blah, blah, blah. What you need to do is say, I love the fact that I work with my team on X. When my team and I work on Y, when, my account executive and I went to this meeting, I could see that blah, blah, blah. And it was great to see that she or he went and did blah, blah, blah. You are part of the team. Don't forget that. Okay. So there's no I in team until there is, because you are part of that team and you need to make yourself part of the story that you're giving to whoever's asking. Okay. In my case, it was the executive vice president, and I probably could have had a better answer for him. I know I could have. So how do you get around this? Well, the power play here is that you actually take the time to have a 10-second answer, a 10-second mini pitch, as it were, that includes you and your team. Then you create a 30-second one, and then you practice, you practice, you practice. And you make sure that when somebody asks you, how's it going? Hey, Amanda, how's it going in Detroit? I have an answer. I'm ready for that. And I am included in that answer, And then also plan it out. Be proactive about it. Put yourself in the position where you're there and somebody can ask you, hey, how are things going? And you're putting yourself in that room so that they can ask you, and you can use your 10-second or your 30-second quote unquote little pitch. But never forget that there is an I in team, and that's you. Okay. So number 3, what is your boss not telling you? Your boss isn't telling you everything, even if you think that they are. You can be close to your boss. You can have a great relationship with your boss. They can't tell you everything, even if they want to, because your boss has a boss and that boss has a boss. And there are things that the company cannot tell everyone. Okay. Here's an example. During, merit time, they could be told you have X amount % of money or percentage overall for the team to give for raises. Okay. So 3% living wage. Well, somebody makes more money than somebody else. They may have to balance that out. So one person gets a higher percentage and the other person has to take a hit. They're not going to tell you that. Okay. They can't. Number one, they can't. Number two, how motivating would that be? And there are other things. There are other things that they know that they're dealing with that they can't tell you, because either, it's a management thing, or it would be demotivating, or whatever it would be. And that's part of being a manager. That's part of being a leader, knowing things that you can't share with everyone. So many times you could feel disgruntled. You could feel out of the loop. You could feel like you're not being seen. All of these things can be things that come down because your manager can't tell you everything. So even though your manager's, currently seeing you, even though you don't feel like it, they're probably like this, holding up like a bunch of stuff that you don't know about. Okay. If they're a good manager, right? So that's a reality. I just had a conversation the other day. Someone had a review, and they got very upset because in a area where it said that they team player and all that, out of 5, they got a 3. They got 5s everywhere else, but in this one, they got a 3. And another area about teamwork, they got a 3. And they were very upset, and rightfully so. And I was so proud of them because they actually pushed back and they got that changed. But they were not understanding, like, why, because they are such a team player. How could that be? Well, it's probably because their manager couldn't give all 5s. They gave them 5s everywhere out of 5. So they had to mitigate that, or else their manager was going to say, no, you can't have this high of a review, fix it. And that's a reality that actually happens. So again, these are things that you may not know about that are going to affect you. So basically, how can you protect yourself when you don't know all this information? How can you protect yourself in your career when you don't know this is going on? You keep an open dialogue with your management, but you don't keep it too open. You realize this is business, and you try to, let them know that you're open to hearing things and all of that, but you keep a little bit back. You realize, for yourself that, again, this is business and that they have to hold their cards back, and you're going to hold some cards back as well, meaning that you may sniff around if you don't like your review, but you're not going to tell them that. You're going to network, like I've talked about before, with others from other divisions, other industries, but you're not going to necessarily tell them that. You're going to craft your career around what you want and you're going to craft your career around the plan that you create for your career. You know your worth, you know what you bring to the table. You don't question that. You're not cocky about it, but you remind yourself that you have all of the talent that they need. Okay. So again, reminding yourself that, making sure that you realize, again, it's business, it's not personal. Okay. So yes, you can be passionate about your career, but it goes back to being too loyal, or it goes back to, not taking the training because you're too busy working on something else when you could be edifying yourself and making yourself even more marketable. So again, it's not personal. Personal. Okay. And also having a plan for your career and then being able to implement that. Never forget, I keep saying it, but your career is your career. The plan for your career is your plan. You're the one that's going to drive that forward, not your boss, not your coworker, not anyone else. It's on you. And you have to be proactive about that if you want to move forward, or if you're looking to do something different, whatever it is, it's on you. You're the one that's going to make that change. So great. Where do you start? Let me just check real quick. Where are you going to start? Well, one of the key things is to have a plan. And many, many times I talk to women who have never thought about what my career plan is, like regardless of what my company has to offer, et cetera, et cetera. It's, what is my career plan? Whether that's at this job or that job or whatever. Who do I want to be? What do I want my life to look like? What is my ultimate goal? They talk about in marketing, because that's my background, to have a key performance indicator for your marketing plan. That means start with your end goal, know what it looks like, and then market to that, right? So I want to make sure that I sell 10 widgets using X advertising channel. And then if you sell 10 widgets, ooh, I'm a success. Okay. Same thing basically for your career. What's your end goal? Like, why are you doing what you do? Are you doing it because you love it? Are you doing it because it's going to get you money for your family? Are you doing it because it's a means to an end to get to where you want to go? Do you want to be an executive vice president? Do you want to be a vice president? Do you just want to be a manager? Do you not want to do any management at all? That's cool too. Do you hate what you're doing? If you do any of those things, you're the one that can do it because it's your career. But again, waiting around for somebody else ain't going to do it. Waiting around for someone else is not going to ring that bell for you. So where do you start? You start by making a plan. Now, this is something that I provide. It's on my website. It's so amandahercoaching.com. Click on the planner. There's a digital planner that you can use that's fillable, or there's a hardcover that you can also use. But it literally walks you through making a plan, and then you follow that plan. And it doesn't matter what day you started, it's a 90-day plan. This is literally what I use when I coach. There is a small cost, $27 for the digital, $59 for the hardcover. But I suggest using something, either use this, which I would love, because then we could have a conversation. I'd know what you're looking at, or use something similar. But you want to sit down and make a plan. At the very least, guys, sit down and start journaling. Or if you don't want to journal, if you're not a journaler, if that's a word, sit down and start writing out why. What is your KPI, your career KPI? What is that? Like mine, like when I got to be vice president, I was like, I'm good. I can go now. That was kind of like my thing. I had to get to that point, and then it was time for me to bounce because I wasn't happy. Right? But what's yours? Have you even thought about that? What's yours? So I would love to know if you have any questions. And I would love to know what you think about this content as well. Because every Friday, I want to bring something to you that is beneficial, that's helpful, and something that really creates opportunity for you, and really like shows you that things are possible. Anything you want in your career is possible. It's just something that you have to admit to yourself that you want and then make a plan to get there. And I want to help you do that. So, with that said, if you would like to continue to follow me every Friday, 12:15, I'll see you here. And you can always follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. I also have a Facebook group. It's called Her Success, the group. I'd love to see you there. So go ahead and click on that. And check out my free Showing Up, How to Show Up in Your Career download on my website. But I really want to connect with you. I want to hear from you. I'm not here just to talk into a camera. I'm literally here to connect with you. And that's what I want to do. That actually is kind of like the core of my value system, is to support you. So with that said, happy weekend. Enjoy yourselves. And thank you for joining me. I really, really hope that this has moved the needle for you and that you are going to move into your weekend feeling great and inspired and ready to kick tush. All right. I'll see you soon.